Set 15 years after the events of the first game, Dishonored 2 starts with Corvo teaching Emily the importance of not getting murdered. It's the anniversary commemorating the assassination of her mother, so it's a good reminder to always be alert and keep a close eye on your surroundings. We then see murder robots casually entering the throne room. The clearly evil Duke of Sokolov brought them and presents a gift. Delilah! She's returned through pure spite to read Emily the filth. She spills the tea about her family history, tells everyone about her grandpa sleeping around, and plays Meet the Grahams in the background. Just brutal. Everyone's a bit confused. Is she really the half-sister of the previous Empress? Does it matter? That doesn't give her birthright to the throne. She'd still have to take the throne by force. Oh hey, she's taking the throne by force. To stack on even more slander, she says that the mysterious killings of people speaking out against Emily that have been happening lately have been done by Corvo. Corvo has now been dishonoured for a second time. Convincing stuff. Accusing someone of murder who has been accused and acquitted of murder previously, and then to bring them to justice, you do some murder. Just take the throne, you daft bin. Also, hope you didn't think the clean hands ending of the first game was canon, because we get to see Corvo killing people in both an animated flashback and in the throne room when Delilah makes her move. I guess canonical Corvo was okay with a bit of killing. As a treat. He doesn't get to indulge for long though, as Delilah traps him and uses energy bending to take away his void powers, something she can do apparently. We then get the choice to play as either Emily or Corvo. Sequels are ways to progress a story and its characters beyond the original. The obvious choice for a satisfying continuation of these characters is for Emily to take the role of protector and assassin, a passing of the torch and an opportunity to show the progress she's made, going from prepubescent political pinhead to post-pubescent political powerhouse, switching the roles and having her be the one to rescue Corvo. What a satisfying version of the story that would be. On the other hand, playing as a girl? Ew. But we'll be sensible and go for the good ending with Emily and occasionally check in on a murder spree with Corvo. Having overpowered them, Delilah turns Corvo to stone and has Emily locked in her room until she learns her lesson. Come on, Delilah. You've got so much personality that I want to root for you, but she's Corvo's daughter and the current Empress. You painted the throne room red to gain control, but you draw the line at one of two people that could reasonably take you down. Just one more kill and you can get your girlfriends back together and chill. Instead, we break out of her room and sneak through the mansion to get the key to a safe room from a guard that smacked us earlier. We don't hold a grudge though, we just leave him trapped in said safe room so he'll starve while we go on an adventure. You are a good person. Well, 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 if it isn't the Blowjob Brothers.
What do I have to do to help my father?
Dunno. Let's see what he would do. We escape to the docks where we meet Megan Foster, who reminds me a lot of Billy Lurk, but Billy never had such a stylish coat, so it can't be her. She works with woman cager Anton Sokolov, so she must be a good person. The so-called crown killings first started in Karnaca, and Delilah must have been down there for a while, so we'll head there first to gather clues. While sailing, we wake up with a massive hangover from drinking an entire tank of rum, get lost and end up in the void. The outsider, who I've decided to stop calling the devil for the purpose of a line later in the video, says he can give Emily the same powers that Corvo used to rescue her, and like a good person would, we accept the dark magic powers from the mysterious stranger and start carrying around our dead mother's heart. Meanwhile, Corvo rejects the powers. He's gone anti-vax and thinks the rat plague was just a hoax. He's into all natural murder now. Plus, the outsider was mocking him for losing another Empress, and he doesn't have a good comeback for that, so he's feeling petty. Still takes the heart though. Good to know that if you ever feel dumb whilst doing a playthrough, remember that the game can be beaten without powers, so if you're struggling with powers, you're worse than you thought.
The jewel of the south.
No, that's a whale, you daft bin. You just saw one in the pain dimension. According to his notes, Sokolov more or less uncovered the full plot to frame and oust Emily, but came down with a severe case of being kidnapped before he could let Corvo know. Megan saw him being dragged to Adamaya Institute to receive treatment, which is headed by an alchemist named Hypatia. Adamaya turns out to be your average UK seaside hotel, complete with cloudy skies and smashed-in windows that we can contribute to whilst we're still getting used to these new powers. Using Goblin Mode and Patience, we clear the area of enemies and reach Hypatia. Turns out she was making a serum to help the local miners and tested it on herself, which gave her a second, murderous personality that was capable of being steered towards murdering critics of Emily. Somehow. But Joshua Graham tells us he has the recipe for a counter serum, so we leave him to die and make the serum so that Jekyll can keep Hyde at bay and give us some information. She mentions that Kirin Jindosh, the grand inventor of Sokolov, took Sokolov to his mansion, so the chase continues. Hypatia decides to stay with us for a while as she regains her mind, comes to terms with being a murder puppet, and also who doesn't like riding on a boat. The outsider appears to provide an info dump. Apparently, Jindosh was kicked out of junior school after 2 years for reasons that were never made public, despite being hailed as the next great inventor who would overtake Sokolov. You know, for someone called the outsider, he sure does have a lot of insider knowledge he insists on sharing. We track Jindosh down to his home, the Clockwork Mansion, a top contender for the greatest video game level ever made, ruined by Jindosh being a top contender for smarmiest trick. It's a shame such a cool level has a Vapor as the main antagonist. And he knows who we are. He's fine with us being in his house. He's interested to see if/how we find him. He wants it. He needs it. He's so sure we can't find him. Apparently the genius doesn't think to just kill us, though I suppose that's what his murder robots are for. But he was courteous enough to put a switch friend to foe button on the robots, just in case he was a video game character and needed to provide an easy way for a protagonist to combat them. Whilst we were trying to get to him, Jindosh called us out for wanting the throne back even though we were rubbish as Empress. He might not be the most unbiased source on that, and we don't take it personally. We simply lobotomise him by frying his brain, dear lord. Straight up mentally disabling a guy. At least Corvo puts him down in an instant.
At last, Lord.
This is us wanting to make him red in the face for thinking we couldn't get to him, by using electric shocks to burst the capillaries in his cheeks. You are a good person. Having dealt with Ginny Boy, we find Sokolov alive and somewhat well, which is more than he deserves, and get him back to the boat so we can all get some sleep. We wake up during the night to take a leak and damn it, not again. Delilah pulls us into the void, a power she has apparently, so that she can trauma dump on us. Delilah's mom died in a debtor's prison. Jessamine was a spoiled and petty child. Lots to consider. Many murders justified by all this, obviously. She also brags about being marked by the outsider years before us. Real petty stuff. Still doesn't kill us.
Anton Sokolov took me as a student. That's the polite word for it.
Oh hey, yet another reason to hate Sokolov. We're still going to work with him, of course. Because you're a good person. We wake up Sokolov from an old person nap to ask him how to defeat Delilah, to which he says, He's a scientist, not a magician. He has no idea what to do about Delilah, but he does know, and can paint a picture of, Brianna Ashworth, one of Delilah's lieutenants, who's building a device called the Oraculum. Ominous. She also runs the Royal Conservatory with her gal pals, and gets up to all sorts of dark magic. Like taxidermy. The outsider pops in to give us some more context. He says he understands not wanting to be part of the high society Brianna was destined for, about to be married off to a man she didn't care for before Delilah swooped in and saved Brianna from having to endure such luxurious monotony. He also says the Vice Overseer would be happy if Brianna's head was on a spike, and probably yours too. Good talk, arsehole. We sneak into the Royal Conservatory to find witches gossiping while sat on bunk beds and having picnics on light fixtures. Chill vibes. Except for the Oraculum. While Brianna chats with Delilah via statue, she mentions that the Oraculum can access the void. Somehow. Delilah also mentions her new project, another painting, because that went so well for her last time. We find a note saying that Jindosh's lenses for the Oraculum were horribly flawed, and when they used them, it almost caused Brianna to lose her connection to Delilah's magic entirely, which would make her powerless, and thus worthless in her own and maybe Delilah's eyes. And also that the lenses are in her workshop, just in case a video game protagonist wants to use them. But surely no one would do such a thing. What a shame that would be, to lose her connection to the person she admires most, who took her from a predetermined life of banal dilly-dallying amongst social schemers and brought her into a world of sisterhood and skeleton dogs. She'd surely collapse in sorrow if that were ever to be taken from her. Oh dear. Stripped of her powers, Brianna breaks down in tears. Ah well, sucks to be a simp. You are a good person, relative to Corvo at least. Back on the boat, Emily admits she messed up with delegating responsibility too much as Empress, not listening in meetings and thinking about leaving to be free. And now, she's free. Free to put the combat skills she was taught to the test, which certainly didn't help her keep the throne, almost as if being an assassin isn't what it takes to be a ruler and address systemic issues, something a monarchy is rarely set up to do since its very existence denotes a higher class and an unequal society by birthright, and therefore neither Emily or Corvo are fit to rule. But at least Hypatia likes us. She left the boat but leaves an audiograph to let us know she thinks we're aces. Whilst we were ransacking the conservatory, we learned that something strange happened 3 years ago at the mansion of a guy called Aramis Stilton, a loyal friend to the previous Duke, so we're off to the Dust District to infiltrate his bunker. You know, there's many things in Dishonored's world I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for. Magic, witches, a disabled minority being treated with dignity and respect in the 1800s, but I draw the line at believing they switched to renewable energy within a reasonable time frame. Stilton's bunker is kept secure by a lock of Jindosh's making. God damn, he just keeps getting in the way. Feeling less and less bad about him being brain broken. However, we also uncover a mini conspiracy, where the current Duke is getting local crime lord Paolo to smuggle food to Stilton, for some reason. So we just sneak into his office and take the code. Paolo also made an outsider shrine, but the outsider wants us to know Paolo isn't a simp for him. He simply found the hand of an old witch and so chose to make a shrine to him. That's all, Barker. We find Stilton rambling incoherently to himself. An exposition dump would be handy right about now. But what kind of all-seeing god of gossip could tell us? The outsider says that something snapped in Stilton's mind here 3 years ago, and a part of him is still there. Breaking. A terrible crime. But also he was a rich elite, so meh. A ritual was performed that let the void seep in and distort magic here, which means we can't use our powers. But to compensate, he gives us a time travel device, so we can go back and see the ritual for ourselves. Why does he have this? Why can he give it to us? Why does he think giving it to us is a good idea? We can't use the device outside the manor, so no going back and stopping Jessamine from ever getting killed, but surely we can go back and stop the ritual that brings Delilah back, since it takes place in this manor. Nope. The ritual can be viewed, but not interfered with, for plot reasons, even though Delilah claims she can sense us. Thankfully, she can't see us because we hid our face. The ritual brought Delilah back from the void and allowed her to put her spirit into a statue, somehow, which she tells the Duke to lock away. That's the key to breaking her immortality, so next stop will be the Duke's palace. Thankfully, we managed to leave the manor without having been spotted or killing anyone, either past or present. Moving or changing anything, even just briefly being seen, can have unforeseen consequences. Right, Corvo? Before going back to the boat, the outsider makes a big show of dropping us into the void and dramatically grabbing us to dump more info on us. He casually mentions that he's 4,000 years old and became a god through a ritualistic sacrifice. Delilah found this ritual site whilst wandering the void and used it to increase her power and call Anuba back to the mortal realm. The outsider says because of this, Delilah is now a part of him. Nice, but he doesn't like it. Consent is important. He also compliments her on her persistence and finding a way to become immortal by using, in his words, a thing made of bones. Even the know-it-all isn't sure what it is, but he doesn't seem happy about her existence. He seems worried, if anything. Perhaps he himself is not immortal and doesn't appreciate the competition. Don't know what would give me that impression though. After our date with the outsider, we make our way to the Duke's new palace. The Duke tore down the original palace and had a postmodern piece of crap built in its place. Emily notes that it cost enough to feed Sokolov for years, but those in Dunwall didn't care so long as the silver kept flowing, almost like she was negligent in her duties. Emily also wonders why people tolerate the Duke, and Megan points out that he has control of the silver mines, an army, and he's had Emily's support from the capital. It's almost like the prepubescent political pinhead grew up to be a post-pubescent political pinhead, but she claims her journey has given her perspective. Sure. Since we're a good person, we go with the non-lethal option of tricking the guards into thinking the Duke's body double is the real Duke, since he seems more reasonable and actually cares for the people of Sokolov. The real Duke gets dragged away so he can be committed for lunacy. How did we trick the guards? We took the Duke's medallion and gave it to his double. That's the only thing that distinguishes the real Duke from his double. What a massive oversight. But then again, I can imagine someone like him being arrogant enough to think he doesn't need anything else, and that he would never misplace the medallion, or that someone would successfully take it from him. He's an idiot. Post-lobotomy Jindosh would give him a run for his money. Getting rid of him is probably good, so sure. You are a good person. With the Duke dealt with, we find the Thing of Bones in his vault and release Jessamine's spirit from her heart so we can trap Delilah's within it. Delilah immediately recognises she's inside her half-sister's heart and is now able to speak to us, though mainly to tell us we ain't shit. Before she goes, Jessamine tells Emily she loves her, and will go to rest with that as her final thought. Meanwhile, she calls Corvo out for being a murderous dick, and says she no longer wants to see what he does because of who he has become. Of course, her hands are surely clean. Her empire was surely built on happiness and collaboration, like the many empires we have in our own history that were built on such things. Many examples. None come to mind, but surely you trust the words of a British man telling you that empires have been good. Plus, she must have known her mysterious bodyguard concubine was doing murders, right? Corvo was just 16 when he wowed people with his ability to beat people in duels. As a soldier, he was involved in conflicts against criminal groups, rogue city-states and pirate bands. He was so good at this conflict that he was sent from Sokolov to Dunwall as a diplomatic gift. I'm not sure what she saw in his bloodthirsty eyes, but somehow it wasn't bloodthirst. On her way back to the boat, Emily admits she's changed, that Delilah let her live because she saw a spoiled princess, which was accurate, gotta hand it to her, but being away from the crown has changed Emily. It's made her into a different person, the kind of person who deserves to wear the crown, she's decided. Couldn't just admit her faults and stay in sunny Sokolov. We have to take back the throne, I guess. Up on deck, Megan reveals that she's actually Billy Lurk. Oh my god, what? That's crazy. She says she was part of a mercenary group 15 years ago led by Dowd, and that she regrets her involvement, especially since their last job was to kill the Empress Jessamine. Emily doesn't forgive her, but because she's a good person, she recognises that Billy has changed since then. But Emily's still going to take the skiff by herself now, which she apparently knows how to pilot out of spite. Before we leave though, Billy left the key to her room on her very conspicuously, so that we could steal it and sneak in to play the audiograph that just happened to be set up to play a message from Dowd about how he's so cool because he totally saved Emily and no one will ever know apart from him, the outsider, Billy, anyone he brags to and anyone who listens to this message, and that he's okay with the consequences of it and isn't he so redeemed. On the skiff back to Dunwall, Emily starts arguing with the heart. Totally normal. Even worse, she's losing. The heart is making some good points.
If I learned anything in Karnaca, it's that birth shouldn't give anyone the right to rule.
Oh, excuse me? Is that right? Then what right do you have? Because you're a good person?
You earn it every day by serving the people who need you.
Which you didn't do! Both you and Corvo constantly mention how you spent too much time daydreaming in council meetings and running along rooftops rather than running the empire. A waltz around the slums doesn't make you fit to rule. She's like when your rich mate goes travelling for a year and talks about how it opened their mind and broadened their horizons, then goes and gets a job at their dad's hedge fund. Delilah and Emily talk via statue. Delilah reiterates that her father, Emily's grandfather and former emperor, was a right slag, getting her made preggers and causing all this. Emily reiterates that she still doesn't know if Delilah is telling the truth, therefore shut up. This is her tower and she doesn't appreciate the renovations she's made, such as mostly destroying it. The dinner parties seem great though. Not eating, not speaking, guests are dead, an introvert's dream. Delilah conveniently leaves a note to tell us that by putting the wrong number of corrupted runes into the throne she's made, it will twist the meaning of her painting. The painting depicts herself as ruler of the world, so if we swap the runes, it will trap her in that painted world rather than remaking the world in that image. Boy, it sure would be embarrassing if Delilah's plans fell apart because her painting ritual backfired because she fell for the old switcheroo. Again, we give Delilah her spirit back, and then rather than recognising that we have been so resourceful and cunning that we managed to uncover her secrets and take down her allies, such that we were able to retrieve her spirit and give it back to her, or the immense danger she is now in since this means she is no longer immortal and therefore do the sensible thing of immediately confronting us and taking our power away, she invites us to enter her painting. Delilah's version of her perfect world is stone people doing nothing, an illusion of being worshipped. It's sad, but if this is what she wants, we should give it to her. Delilah seeks to become the god of her domain to escape the torment of her unsafe childhood, so Emily uses her power as the true empress to grant her wish.
Sing my songs and lick my flesh.
Yeah, you go get your flesh licked, you idiot. Wait, so Delilah is no longer immortal and is trapped in a barren world. So she's going to die of dehydration in a few days, right? We didn't need to give her spirit back to trap her, so that was just to be sure she'd die. Like with the guard in the beginning, Emily seems to enjoy starving her enemies to death. At least Corvo puts Salem to shame with the way he ends Delilah and her followers, rather than letting them suffer. With Delilah gone, we're able to break Corvo out of his stone prison, for some reason. And with that, we get to see the good ending. The outsider assures us through monologue that Karnaca thrived under the new Duke, and that Brienne and Jindosh got arrested. Oh good, we mentally disabled a man then put him in prison. How just. And Paolo the crime lord is there too. Beautiful. Meanwhile, in Dunwall, Emily the Just, Emily the Clever, as she apparently gets to be known, ruled for decades over a prosperous, mended empire, with Corvo at her side. We never get to see this mended empire of course, but the outsider assures us it's there, a convenient way to wrap up their story and prevent me from sarcastically saying it won't work out because they've already said yes it will, shut up. We don't get to see Emily be an effective ruler, but we've been repeatedly told she's changed and becomes a good ruler, so I guess we have no choice but to admit, you are a good person.